everybody.
Hey guys.
Welcome back to our channel, and we are
The Herc Life.
Okay, so today we are going to be doing a tutorial on a black pipe shelf.
So we got all of our material from Menard. So this is actual black pipe. It's not. Yeah, there you go.
It's not just one of those kits you buy from Amazon or something that it's not really black pipe.
Right.
We actually just got real black pipe, and we will show you everything we got. We don't have prices for everything because that's just too organized. It's pretty cheap to do, and we think they'll be pretty substantial and they'll look really nice in our kitchen. And if you've been following along in our part of our channel, we are in the middle of a kitchen and living room remodel. If you are new to the channel, welcome, and watch our previous videos to see kind of what's going on. But these are something we've been leading up to. We're kind of close to the end of the remodel for the kitchen, and so we're ready to put them up. So we're gonna hop into this tutorial. All right, so here are the supplies you will need for this project. This is the black pipe shelf. You will need 9 12-inch sections of 1/2-inch pipe, 6 flanges, because ours will be coming out of the ceiling and in the wall. You will need 3 T's, 3 elbows, and 2 4.5-inch sections of pipe, and 1 cap, because our shelf will also have a paper towel dispenser on the bottom. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and take these 12-inch sections and attach them to the flanges. And then Tanner, like I said, has superhuman strength, so he will come in and tighten them tighter. That's what he's here for. And as well as he's kind of here to kind of help me remember how we did things, because we pieced it all together in the middle of Menard's with no plans.
So the most important thing with this is because of the threads, you want to assemble the entire shelf completely before you put it up. Putting it up on the wall will not work because there are a lot of pieces that will then not get tightened right, and then you will have a loose shelf, which can be a safety issue and it could fall on people. So next is your tees.
Another thing that is kind of important to remember is as you're piecing this together, if you just piece it together in the store, like if you want to make modifications to what we've done, if you're going to piece it together in the store, do not tighten things down. Just kind of loosely fit them together so that you can
I haven't tightened that one yet.
Oh, okay. So you can freely take them apart. So you know what you like, you can get an idea of how you want it to fit, but don't tighten it down.
The problem with tightening them down too far is that the threads will gall up and you will not be able to get them apart without a wrench, which can cause, if putting a wrench on it can cause damage to the pipe if you don't have the right wrench. So just keep that in mind. The Menard's employees will not be happy with you if they have to separate them, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, we actually do have a piece of pipe that we did not notice. It must have been returned, and it's got just some imperfections on it. So we're actually just going to use this piece as our paper towel holder because it's going to be covered up anyway.
Another thing you want to really make sure of is you want to make sure you keep these as straight as you can. So position is very important with this, because you want it to sit squarely on your wall. Now you'll be able to tweak it a little bit when you're putting it up, but you want to make sure that you get it as close as possible, because you won't be able to make too many adjustments.
Yeah. Sorry, while we're sitting here, I noticed that we accidentally left one of these on here, and I would like to take it off. Actually, I'm going to hand that over to you.
Another thing, lengths also matter a tremendous amount, because if your lengths aren't right, then you could have a shelf, a bunch of different things that could happen. You'll either have one shelf that's kind of sitting weird, or one shelf that won't be level, depending on which joint it is.
So now I'm going to add the next piece of 12-inch pipe.
We recommend you build one side at a time, just so that way you can keep all your parts straight.
Not more helpful. I'm gonna have you tighten. Well, yeah, I can have you tighten it down now.
Man, I wish I could use a pipe wrench on this.
So I am going to then attach this piece, which is going to be the piece that goes into the wall and the shelf will sit on.
And another thing to remember is it'll be easier to turn once you add this piece. It'll be easier to tighten because you're adding more leverage. See? Hold that.
How tightly?
See, you're adding more leverage there because I'm now pushing against her hand, which is now 1 foot away from where I'm tightening. So every pound that you do is now 1 foot-pound instead of whatever
and
this is.
also, I'm not really even holding onto that.
So yeah, she's barely holding onto
I'm
it,
just
and I'm
holding
able
it.
to tighten this. So your leverage is force over distance. So remember that your force is going to be multiplied by 12.
This is the ceiling down. So this needs to be an elbow.
Mm-hmm.
These projects are actually really fun for Tanner and I both because
We love piecing things together.
I don't know if you want to tighten that down much.
I will wait until you put the next piece in.
And so here is one side. Sorry, it's hard to see the whole thing because of the
I'll hold
camera
it back
view,
here.
but
So here is one side of your shelf, or our shelf, sorry. So this is just a very basic 2-shelf shelf.
yeah, I mean, you can get more complex with them.
So then, when you're checking this, I recommend having a level. Now, the one thing about it is you need to level it with whatever it's sitting on instead of leveling it in the space. So basically what that means is you want to match this level with the level of the floor. That's important because say if whatever it's sitting on isn't level, like our floor is not level at all because of our house. As it's sitting right now, this floor is not level. So if I were to make this level, actually 100% level, then it would not actually be level. So the reason why I am leveling it right now is just to make sure that these pieces are the same length. A lot easier than trying to measure, I think.
He's here for the strength. So these black pipe ideas were actually kind of my brainchild. Tanner's here to kind of help be the strength of the project and help me kind of sometimes there was things that I kind of wanted to tweak a little bit and I just needed his brain to bounce things off. So we've been able to work together on that and it's been really, really fun. But if you are not a follower of our channel and you haven't seen, we're in the middle of a kitchen remodel and that's actually what this is for. We took down a wall cabinet and we wanted to have shelf space, so I was kind of looking around on Pinterest and stuff and I saw these and I was like, these are awesome. It'll be really nice, it'll look nice with our house. And so I was like, Tanner, you know, help me. Let's figure out how we can do this. Hey guys, coming at you from the editing portion of things. I went ahead and just sped through this part. You're going to see us making movements and talking, but we were actually just talking about a project that was supposed to go hand in hand with this, which was a black pipe spice rack. And when we went to do it, it just wasn't going to work out like we thought it was. Pieces weren't going to sit together. So I just went ahead and sped through this. And the reason I just left it is because that way it makes sense when everything comes back together. And you guys will be able to kind of see at the beginning of this, Tanner was doing stuff. And I will have thrown up some text saying that another thing that Tanner was kind of talking about is that you do need to remember that this is black pipe, so it's going to be greasy. So go ahead and degrease it. And yep, so I just want to let you guys know that that's why this is that way. All right, so we got one side built. I'm gonna go ahead and build the other, and this happens to be the side that Tanner accidentally already tightened down. So this part will already be built.
Mm-hmm.
I will say on top of these being greasy, we have a new floor, so we are actually doing ours on the blanket, A, to protect the floor and from scratches and dings and stuff, but also to keep the grease off it, help keep it cleaner. So I recommend either doing it outside or like in a garage, or just put something down that you're not gonna beat up your floor.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the next step is we are going to add the paper towel holder to the bottom of this piece. All right, so we have a little 4.5 piece here on the bottom that we are going to go ahead and put this elbow, another 4.5 inch piece together with. This is going to be what we use for a paper towel dispenser. Tanner's going to tighten that down the right direction.
Yep. Hold. Man, you got that pretty tight. Okay. Mm-hmm.
We're adding another elbow to this side. We made it jag back towards the wall, so that way...
So question really quick. Sorry not to interrupt you, but before we tighten that down into spot, where do you want the paper towels? Do you want them over here or over here? Because it does matter. Like, that's one piece that is really going to be dependent on you completely cranking it.
All right, now I'm going to hand this over to Tanner to tighten down because it needs to be tightened down before we add the next piece.
Okay, I'll go ahead and add this piece in. This is going to be our paper towel holder. So I'm going to thread this in here, and then since we want this to be our left bracket and that's where we want our paper towels to hang, it's going to have to point to the right towards the other shelf.
So make sure when you are putting this
or
together,
towards the other bracket, I'm sorry.
Make sure when you're putting this together, you think about that as you're putting on this last piece, this last 4-inch section, about where you are going to want it.
Remember what I said about earlier, the further out something is, the more leverage you'll have. So remember that this is going to be very easy to pull down. So if you have kids and they hang on it, it's going to be very easy for them to pull on it. So you want to make sure that you get that as tight as you can. This elbow right here. This elbow right here. You want to make sure that you get that as tight as you can, because you're going to have the weight of your paper towel holder here, or I'm sorry, your paper towel roll, and any force, because this is going to be up on the wall, any force is going to allow it to go like this, because here's your fulcrum point here. So I'm actually going to tighten that some more.
Another thing that is really important is, obviously, these are going to be heavy shelves as they're made out of black pipe, and black pipe is heavy. So make sure you have an idea kind of where you're going to be putting it on the wall, and make sure that you have the proper support. Since ours is coming out of the soffit on ours and there are no studs where we're going to be, we went ahead and got drywall anchors that are going to stick up in there, and they hold up to like 250 pounds or something like that. So that's really important. That's something you really need to pay attention to with these is they're heavy. So make sure you have proper support. Hold on the floor, please. Okay. Make sure you're going to have proper support on your wall, and if it's coming out of the ceiling like ours, make sure that you have the proper support in place. The reason we put a cap on the end is so that way when you go to take your paper towel holder on and off, you can just put this on the end to help keep your paper towel holder in place. So when you do put this cap on, you do not want to make it tight. You want to leave that pretty loose so that way you don't have a hard time getting it on and off. If you have kids that are going to be playing with it, maybe put it a little snug so they can't get to it, but make sure you can get it off.
So the reason why we just did that is because this was sticking out this way, which was going to make it hang underneath the cabinet adjacent to it. So, and we want the paper towels to be on the left side of the cabinet, so I had to move it. That was not fun.
And then the other thing I was going to say is if you don't want yours coming out of the ceiling like ours with this extra piece here, then all you have to do is instead of having a T here, you can just cut it off and make this an elbow, so it'll just go into the wall.
Now the reason why I didn't want to do that was because the more flanges you have attached to
A surface,
the stronger your shelf is going to be. So now that the anchors we bought support 250 pounds each. So now the more anchors you have, the more that weight goes up. It doesn't necessarily get doubled if you put two, but it's pretty close. Yeah.
So that's, I mean, we really wanted to have something with support. We're not honestly putting anything heavy on it. We're going to have like a coffee press and like some smaller things like that, but we still wanted it to have a lot of support. That way whoever buys the home after us will be able to put whatever they want on it and not have to worry about it you know, falling down, and who knows, they might decide they don't like it. Little tip, don't pull real hard on these. You'll pull them through the wall. He just did it.
So what I'm doing here, these are our mounting hardware. They look a little bit long, but that's because they're meant to go through even block wall. So basically, you drill a 1/2-inch hole, and then this slips up through the hole like so. Like so. So this will slip up through the hole there. It'll then sit like this in the ceiling or in the wall even. And then you zip this up tight so that way it holds it. And then you put the screw goes through it and it holds it tight.
But like I was just saying, you don't want to pull too hard on this once it's up in the ceiling. He accidentally pulled a little too hard and it just broke off.
Yep. These are actually very nice because typically with toggle bolts, these are supposed to be a toggle bolt alternative. Typically with toggle bolts, once you get it through the wall, there's no getting it back out, which these are the same. But also, if you take that screw out, you got to get a whole new toggle bolt. We learned that lesson the hard way because I didn't think about it. Took the bolt out of it and it fell to the floor, and then we had to make another trip. One thing that I just realized that you do really have to pay attention to is that you have to pay attention to whether you have actual true 2x4s or whether you have the new style of 2x4s where they've been machined down and they are now a nominal size of 2x4, which is 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches. I didn't think about that. I measured as if they were new 2x4s. I didn't think about the fact that the house was built in the 1920s. So in all likelihood, it has true 2x4s. So now, that being said, we did get kind of lucky here because right where we wanted to put one of our shelf brackets, there ended up being a stud. I didn't think there was going to be one there, but surprise. So we were able to put actual screws in that. We don't need to use these toggle bolts, which is great because I actually broke one. So Now, what you want to do is, like we were saying, I'll turn the camera here just a little bit. You're going to take these and you're going to zip them up tight to the wall. Now, being careful not to break them, as I did earlier. All right, so now we have them all zipped tight. I'm going to check on here to make sure that we can cut these excess lengths off. Oh, okay. Snap straps at wall or ceiling by pushing side to side, snapping off straps level with flange cap, then discard straps. Nice. The style we normally would use would be the toggle bolt I mentioned earlier. So then here's your screws for that. Okay, so now that we have this, after a little hiccup, I kind of drilled it a little bit in the wrong spot. Ended up being fine, but something you just want to be aware of. Make sure that you're really making sure that you have all your placement right. So now we're going to move on to the other side. Okay, so here is our shelves. The brackets are up. I still have to cut the shelves. Okay, so now at this point, you already saw that I mounted the shelves there, and I did end up cutting the shelves today. So I have the shelves just over here. So now you're gonna see how I put them in. It's a little bit of an odd way that I have to do it, but it actually, once I figured out the best way to do it, it worked pretty good. So
before we put those in, we're going to wipe them down with some degreaser. All we're using is this by Method. It works really nicely for anything we've used it for so far. So and as you can see, there was a lot of grease on it. So just,
and that's with minimal scrubbing even.
Yeah.
That's just taking the surface layer of grease off. As you can see, I did not cut these straight. That was by design because the wall actually, from the corner out to the window, it gains about a ½ inch over the span of this shelf. So I sat down and did the math here. I'll show you how to do it real quick. So I did the math here. I just drew a simple triangle because that's essentially what it makes. So here, the shelf is 11 3/8 long. We gained a ½ inch. So then using Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So I figured out that that is the length of the wall along that. Using that, I was able to use basic trig, cosine, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. So then cosine of 0.999, which then that gave me my degree that I needed. So we have to install it this way. So basically what I do is I turn it on its side here. And no, I'm not just figuring this out as I go. I actually did practice on camera, or off camera, to make sure that I knew what I was doing. There's our first shelf. And likewise, we have our other shelf. One thing you want to be careful of is when you do cut it, see it has pretty ends like that. Normally, well, when you do cut it, that happens. So you want to make sure that this cut is against a wall or somewhere where you're not going to see it. So there you have it. Here's our black pipe shelf. Final touches, paper towels.
And there's your paper towel holder, and as you can see, there's plenty of clearance between the two. That you can, I mean, I know Costco has some pretty thick paper towel rolls, so they'll do anything.
Yeah. All right, so you just watched our black pipe shelf tutorial. Thanks, guys. Make sure you like this video. Give us a nice thumbs up. Ring that bell to subscribe. We definitely really appreciate all of our fans. Thank you for all your support.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you.